Can you hear me okay? Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming for this session. There are a lot of really good sessions on at this time, so I appreciate you've chose the best one to come to. But don't worry, this session, as all other sessions, are also being recorded and will be available on YouTube and stuff. So yeah, feel free to kind of take notes and enjoy it. Now, first and foremost, we have to, this is the legal bit, so before the fun part, this is the lawyers insist on this. So basically, in other words, and this is the case for any time I talk, don't make stock decisions on what I'm about to say or what I'm about to tell you in the next 30 minutes. So this session, compliance theatre versus real security. We're going to focus on mobile devices here. And just to introduce myself, so my name is Adam Boynton. As you can tell from my accent, I'm from the UK. So I work for Jamf in EMEA, working on our go-to-market strategy with a particular focus on security and mobility. However, I'm also a father. So I'm a father of a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. And when my son, the 5-year-old, asked me what I do for work, trying to explain I work on security strategy for a tech firm is not as exciting as a fireman or a truck driver or whatever it is he's interested in. So what I landed on is, hey, I tell people stories. And these stories are often about how the good guys, such as yourselves, protect yourselves against the bad guys. So hopefully you'll enjoy the story. Hopefully you enjoy a cooler job title than a security strategy, if nothing else. So now, I've been working in mobile technology for over 11 years now. I joined Jamf when they acquired a company called Wandera, which was a number of years ago. And I joined Wandera way back in 2014 when I was around about the 15th employee at the time. So I'm a big power user of mobile, as you can tell by the new iPhone and the crossbody strap, which the jury's out on whether I actually like it or not, but I thought this is the perfect time to actually test whether I'm going to use it and it's going to be useful for me. But I really do believe in the sentiment that's on screen here. And at Jamf, we also really believe in this sentiment. Hopefully you attended the Commercial State of the Union, where they gave some examples where mobile devices are no longer just a luxury item that you give your executives to be able to respond to emails on the go. Like, we have customers that are using these devices that are becoming critical to their everyday function, whether that's hospitals or nurses that are using iPads to deliver patient care at the kind of side, retail organizations that are heavily relying on these devices in store, or we have a number of aviation customers that also now provide on-flight staff and pilots with iPhones and iPads to perform their functions. So they really are becoming critical to our day-to-day sort of use and our productivity. And these stats really back it up as well. So the kind of stats that really stood out to me from this slide here is the bottom two. So around about 34% increase in efficiency and productivity when users use their mobile devices regularly. So that was a really interesting stat from Frost & Sullivan report. And actually the bottom one as well. So about 80% of IT executives now believe their employees cannot work effectively if you take away their mobile device. So maybe this is quite fun. You're all IT executives, or give or take. So show of hands, who else also believes your employees would not be able to work effectively if you took their mobile device away? I'm kind of hoping for 80%, so we know that's right. Yeah, I certainly would not be able to work as effectively if I was removed from being able to use this device. However, attackers also recognize this, right? There has been this increase in usage has also resulted in attackers frequently or increasingly trying to target mobile devices. And generally, mobile devices are prime targets because we use them all the time. We access so much sensitive data from them, and in general, security awareness is slightly lower. At any given point, according to our research, 50% of devices are running not on the latest version of operating system. Now, we know how important it is, especially with critical security updates, to keep those OSs on the latest version. Like, if my mother-in-law said to me, like, hey, what can I do to make my mobile device most secure? Like, basic thing, keep it on the latest version of OS. Yet, in reality, especially when you start scaling to hundreds or thousands of devices, it can be quite tricky to enforce that or ensure that. We also know that things like phishing attacks are generally more trickier for users on a mobile device. So around about 50% more success rate of a phishing attack on a mobile device compared to a desktop or laptop. So it is a little bit of a blind spot. how attackers typically target mobile devices. Phishing and smishing, like we're all familiar with this type of attack technique, and I'm sure even today we still get these text messages trying to get you to log in to, or click on a link or download certain software. We're starting to see, as demonstrated in the Commercial State of the Union, with the introduction of third-party app stores, especially in the EU for iOS devices. If users start to download applications from the unofficial app store, that introduces risk to the device and ultimately to your data. Whenever Apple release these updates to operating system, we then see attackers try target devices which haven't been updated, because they're going after these known and fixed vulnerabilities on devices which are not being updated. And also we're seeing an increase in these mobile-specific social engineering attacks. So I'll give a couple of examples of those later on. So thankfully, awareness is increasing. We're certainly banging a drum at Jamf, but also compliance frameworks are now mandating mobile requirements in some form or the other. So pretty much all compliance frameworks globally now have mobile requirements as part of that. So whether that's ISO, NIST, HIPAA, Cyber Essentials Plus, NIST 2, they all extend into mobile. Now some mandate MDM type functionality, others mandate more mobile threat defense or ZTNA functionality. But the kind of message here is clear, like mobile compliance is no longer optional, okay? And actually, to kind of put this into context, in the EU NIST 2, if you do not comply with NIST 2 and you work within certain organizations which are mandated to comply to NIST 2, you face a 2% turnover, 2% of your turnover fine if you're not compliant across any of your devices. So it is becoming more and more critical and more serious for these compliance frameworks. So each framework is obviously different in what they require, but ultimately they can be categorized into 4 areas in terms of what they actually ask you to do on a mobile device. So the first one is just to be able to know and control every device, have knowledge and visibility of your devices. Then you want to keep them healthy and threat-free, best you can, protect your data with strong technical controls, and then monitor, respond, and importantly, prove that you have compliance, so have that kind of audit trail of what you're doing on mobile devices. So I'm going to focus on 3 particular frameworks for this session. So we're starting with NIST. Now, that QR code will take you to the NIST framework. Don't worry, it's not a test. I have done sessions before where I've put a fake QR code there just to prove to you how easy it could be, but in this case, these are genuine, so feel free to scan away. Now, NIST is really the gold standard for mobile device security, okay? So it covers the entire device life cycle from deployment right through to device retirement. It helps businesses to have this kind of mature, risk-based approach to mobile. And it's often a prerequisite, right, for US federal or certain regulated sectors. There's also an additional benefit. If you are NIST compliant, it lowers your cyber insurance premiums as well. So I'm sure a lot of you are sort of utilizing this or working towards this on mobile devices. Now, let's look across the Atlantic at what they do in the EU. So NIST 2 is the EU's answer, and it goes big, right? It's a legal requirement for critical sectors that operate within the EU. As I mentioned, there are big fines, so it's either 2% of turnover or 10 million euros, whichever one is higher. There's executive liability, and it's all about building resilience and trust amongst within the organizations that adhere to this framework. So yeah, mobile is now explicitly in the regulatory spotlight when it comes to the EU. And then in the UK, where I'm from, we have Cyber Essentials Plus. So this is the kind of baseline standard. It's NCSC, National Centre for Cybersecurity, backed, so it's government-backed. It is mandatory in some UK organisations to comply with this, but it's really popular as well because it's quite simple and easy for smaller to medium-sized organisations to meet this, and it gives you a competitive advantage because you can then say to your customers, we're Cyber Essentials certified, and therefore we take protection of data seriously. So these are the kind of 3 frameworks that we'll focus on for this session. So here's the catch. Compliance doesn't equal security. This is the kind of title for this session, right? Compliance theatre versus real security. Now, theatre is this kind of static checklist paper exercise. You can pass an audit, but what you really want to be looking at is real security, this continuous protection, okay? So we're not just trying to pass an audit, but for the sake of it, we want to actually provide genuine security and compliance for our mobile devices and our mobile users. So let's look at those, the 4 different things they asked for. I've provided an example referencing different frameworks for each of them. So the first one was all about being able to know and control devices or device configuration and management, so MDM. So NIST, one of the first things it says is you must manage devices centrally, okay? So that includes making sure that they have some kind of configuration, some encryption, some patching, some monitoring. That's kind of the baseline, right, for NIST. It's that non-negotiable first step. So what you've got to do initially is tick the box. Now, I'm sure everyone in this room knows how to enroll an iOS device into Jamf Pro, so don't worry, I'm not going to show you how to do that. There are plenty of sessions that are taking place today, tomorrow, the rest of this week, which go far deeper in terms of what you can do with iOS device management. Definitely would check out the one with American Airlines happening tomorrow, which kind of goes beyond that to how they implemented security. But there's also some digital workshops that are taking place over the course of the next couple of days, which you can get your hands on, sort of, again, tips and tricks on how to enroll devices with the latest Jamf features available. But this is obviously what you need to do first. You need to enroll the device into MDM. That's kind of the core. Everyone knows that. No need to do a detailed demo on that. However, what I have done, and this was also previewed nicely at the Commercial State of the Union, but just to, I guess, kind of bring it home and show you this in a bit more detail. What we allow you to do now is have this continuous protection. So here we have an example. This is a device that is due an update. It's running on iOS 18.2. We saw initially in the settings that the software update was available, but the user wasn't downloading it. It wasn't actioned by the user, okay? This is probably a common theme that you've faced before, struggling to get users to update. Now, the Jamf Trust application was sent a notification and detected that this device was running a vulnerable version of operating system. Now, if we go back to settings, we can now actually see that the update has since downloaded automatically, and this is due to a blueprint that we've configured within Jamf Pro. So the download is happening. The user will then be warned the download, once the download is finished, it will update automatically. So it takes it out of their hands. This update is happening. So as was demonstrated earlier, we have this automated update happening. So that's what the user would see from that point of view. Let's have a look at what the admin would see. Okay, so we start in the Jamf Security Cloud. So firstly, we can see that the device is, yeah, cool, that's playing. The device is going to be reporting a major vulnerable operating system. So we have 2 different reporting. We have outdated operating systems, and then we also have if the operating system is associated with a known vulnerability. So we have the reporting available for us within there. What we've then done is we've created a UEM sync. Okay, so this is telling Jamf Pro about this vulnerable operating system, and then we have a webhook, which is then set in place to automatically update when this vulnerability is in place. So again, there's a really good session happening after this on webhooks and how you can configure that with the UEM Connect. Now, if we go to Jamf Pro, what we're then going to be able to do is we want to set this up that as soon as Jamf Pro receives that UEM Connect webhook, that the device is running the vulnerable operating system, that this device will then fall into a smart group based off the change of an extension attribute, okay? So what we're doing now is we're just showing you that smart group and the criteria and the extension attribute that I mentioned. What we'll then do in a second is we will then go look at the blueprint that we've created, and we can see the information about it, and we can also see that it has been scoped to that particular smart group, so the device will automatically begin downloading the update. So again, as demonstrated in the Commercial State of the Union earlier on, so Jamf Blueprints, Apple Declarative Device Management are game changers, not just for Apple, but especially for iOS. We're really innovating. We're putting a lot of focus from our product point of view to making more iOS sort of availability or features with DDM and Blueprints. So this is definitely one of those that I'd recommend, but there's more that we can look at. But yeah, we're kind of turning this one-time provisioning into continuous automated compliance. So from a device management, from a compliance point of view, you've got the device managed, but you've also got automated protection in place. So you can show to your compliance frameworks, hey, we're always keeping these devices on the latest and greatest protection that is available. So the next one was about keeping devices healthy and threat-free. Now, This is where Cyber Essentials Plus in the UK kind of hits a wall a little bit, all right? Now, Cyber Essentials Plus does ask for anti-malware capabilities or anti-malware requirements, but they claim none really exist for mobile in the scheme. So for Cyber Essentials Plus, to meet that, you just need to make sure the device is managed, and you need to make sure that the devices are only downloading apps from the official App Store. That's all you need to do to pass Cyber Essentials Plus. So to kind of tick the box here, you would enroll the device into Jamf Pro, and you would make sure that users are only downloading apps from the trusted App Store. However, as you can see, this device would pass Cyber Essentials Plus, which is fine. It's got as you can see, it's managed. You can see business applications being pushed. But this same device has now received a text message. Now, this is a genuine phishing link that I got sent, so I clicked the link. I took one for the team. I risked giving away my credentials so I could record this for you. But again, for those of you that have either lived or work in the UK, this is the official government, or supposedly the official government website, which is going ahead and asking me to put in some credentials. So again, a common phishing attack. So if you are trying to meet Cyber Essentials Plus, you can meet it without having protection against this sort of attack. We did a research for last year, the Jamf 360 report. There was 10 million mobile phishing attacks in 2024. So these are happening very frequently. And some of them are more sophisticated than this. Some of them are really focused and targeted. And I'll give some examples of that. So yeah, I'm just going to build these all out because there's a few. This is just some examples, not just from us, but from other security vendors highlighting the importance for network security on a mobile device, okay? So this is not just having the device enrolled, managed, and configured from the device point of view, but actually controlling what websites users go to, what links they click on, and what they're doing in the network. Now, I mentioned there was 10 million mobile phishing attacks in 2024. There's a recent example in the UK. Marks & Spencer, which is a well-known retailer in the UK, suffered a ransomware attack a couple of months ago. Now, the group behind this ransomware attack was Scattered Spider. So Scattered Spider are quite a well-known threat actor group. Obviously, it's tricky to get the full details of the ransomware attack. However, we do know that Scattered Spider was behind it. We do know that they were able to launch the ransomware attack by using stolen employee credentials to gain access to internal systems, and subsequently the ransomware attack was launched. We also know that Scattered Spider commonly use mobile as a method to get user credentials. Okay, so often what they've done is they will send a user a text message. It might be something like, hey, you've been signed out of your account, or maybe it's Microsoft or whatever it might be. They send them a text message. They immediately then follow up that text message with a phone call, pretending to be from the IT support team. They say, hey, we just sent you a text message. We've noticed you've been signed out of your account. Can you go ahead and click the link, and we'll get you up and running and verify. So they're doing this whilst on the phone. The user clicks the link. That will then, they then might be presented with a 2FA sort of method to get into the account. Again, they're on the phone. They can say, hey, can you give us the 2FA code you've just been sent, or if it's SMS-based or if it's via an application. And they've used this kind of mobile-specific social engineering to gain access to the system. So what you really need to do is make sure that you have some method of protecting users from phishing attacks in particular, but also just how they kind of click on, how they browse the internet. You want to give the users a safer internet experience. Now, at Jamf, we have different methods here. The kind of the latest and greatest method of providing this type of protection is leveraging on-device content filtering, or ODCF. Okay, so this is Apple's modern way of enforcing security directly on the device. Instead of having to route traffic for a proxy or a VPN, the device evaluates every DNS and network request in real time. Okay, so it's brilliant for the end user's point of view. We then power our threat intelligence into this decision-making or workflow, so that if a phishing link is detected, we're blocking that for the user. It also can be used if you want to stop users going to third-party app stores, or like maybe adult or gambling. But bringing it back to this example, it just allows you to provide that protection from, like I said, the network side of things. This is built into the Jamf application, so as soon as you configure a device, this will automatically be enabled by default. There's nothing the user has to do. Because it's built and we're using the latest Apple frameworks, it's really user-friendly. Users barely notice that their traffic is kind of being inspected or monitored in this instance at all. Great. So moving on, data protection isn't optional, right? Encryption is table stakes. So NIST requires that all devices accessing sensitive company data, whether corporate-owned or BYOD, to have encryption and secure baseline settings. So from an auditor or an insurer's perspective, these aren't negotiable. So if a BYOD phone connects to some kind of corporate application, some kind of corporate data, it needs to have the appropriate baseline controls as a corporate, similar to a corporate-owned device. Okay? So that's why Jamf has expanded beyond Apple, and we now support Android MDM. So I think I'm making history right now. The first time at JNUC, we're mentioning the other A word, which is Android. However, yeah, some people, unfortunately, they have Android devices. So this is the elephant in the room, but ultimately, for BYOD point of view, like Jamf fully supports Android work profile for BYOD. So you can extend all the security and compliance that you are used to beyond Apple into mixed fleets. So if you do have users that are requesting to access company data on an Android device, we got you covered now. So I'll let the video play out from the user's point of view. Essentially what we're showing here is that a work versus personal separation, okay? So Jamf has created a dedicated work profile on an employee-owned Android device. Okay, so work applications, accounts, and data are all going to be managed by Jamf. The personal side remains private and unmanaged, okay? What you'd expect for any decent BYOD offering. What we're then doing from a compliance point of view is we are enforcing encryption and screen lock on the device, okay? So if you're going to enroll the device and access company data, you must have encryption and screen lock by default. We're then isolating the corporate data from personal applications and personal content. We also support selective wipe, so only work data will be removed if the device is lost, stolen, or unenrolled. So this approach means that your employees can keep the freedom of their own devices, but your IT or your security team, you get that assurance that the corporate data is encrypted, it's managed, and it's going to be compliant, okay? So we've seen what it looks like from the user's side. Let's have a flip now to the admin console. So this is the Jamf Manager for Android console. So we've seen how it looks for the user. From an admin point of view, we have different enrollment methods that you can deploy this to. So this might be some potential zero touch. We're using a QR code, NFC tag, or a manual token. So you can onboard a device, whether it's fresh out the box or it's already in use in the field. We have different options there. We support different management modes, so fully managed, the kind of comparable to Apple's supervised mode, the BYOD work profile that we're showcasing here, or the company-owned with a personal allowance, so that kind of middle ground corporate device, but you can still keep a personal profile. Manager for Android follows a similar philosophy to Jamf Now, if any of you have used Jamf Now, where it's one profile that controls everything, so applications, restrictions, and compliance policies. So the idea is it makes it really straightforward for IT teams. You select the right profile for the right ownership model, and then Jamf will enforce encryption, app controls, and access policies, again, whilst respecting the user's privacy. So you've seen the compliance in action, policies in place, and technically we've ticked the box. But as with the other example on the managed device, you still just because you're compliant doesn't remove real-world risk, okay? So Android devices, BYOD, can still be exposed to phishing, to smishing, as you can see, or credential theft. So it's really critical that you then extend security into the management profile itself. So in this example, every managed application, every managed browser is protected by Jamf's DNS filtering. Okay, so malicious domains, be it on your managed browser, phishing links will all be blocked in real time, okay? So this is the kind of bridge, right, between compliance and security. It's not just proving that you can manage the device, it's actively preventing the device that could, from being attacked that could lead to stolen credentials or further attacks down the line. Now, we move on to the kind of final thing that compliance frameworks ask for, and this isn't just the device management or the encryption or the security. There's also now expectations around secure access controls, and this is especially true when it comes to mobile devices. So NIST 2 is very explicit. It requires that applications and services on mobile devices must be securely accessed. Okay, so it requires organizations to implement some form of access controls, which in reality, in practice, this is a VPN or a ZTNA type offering. So this is why ZTNA has become such a hot topic, not just for security reasons, for the other benefits, but also now compliance frameworks are starting to mandate we need to implement ZTNA. So why is it such a necessity? I think we're kind of familiar with this. There's been sessions over the years at JNUC where we've been bigging this up, and there's a lot that happening this week still, but we know this for a fact on mobile, like remote working has quadrupled. We know that users are generally sort of accessing applications on the go via a mobile device. These applications are in the cloud. We see that a lot of organizations are actively exploring zero trust network access, if not already implemented it. And that kind of leads us to a challenge, right? Adoption of ZTNA has been slowed. So there's a difference between we're exploring ZTNA to actually we've implemented it on our mobile devices. Now, the main reason I believe that is due to the user experience issues that ZTNA has maybe been sort of faced with when trying to deploy it or push it down to a mobile device. So on screen here, I'm going to show you two examples. These are both Jamf-based deployment methods for our ZTNA. The first one I'll show you in a second is our WireGuard-based deployment. Now, this compared to other tools on the market is still a very efficient and easy deployment method. But if we play it out, we can see that the VPN profile has been pushed to the device via MDM. So it's there within the settings if the user wanted to access it. Obviously, they don't need to check settings. It's just automatically being pushed. And now we're going to go and try and access corporate applications. Now, because we've implemented the zero trust network access policy within this corporate application, the access is not granted right now, okay? Now, this is because we do not know that this device belongs to this user, okay? So what we now need to do is we now need to integrate this device with your IDP, so we now know that this device belongs to this user. So we can then sort of establish that this device is a trusted device, it belongs to this user. This user is allowed to access the application that they're requesting to access. The device is also clean, so we're doing the zero trust network access. The kind of zero trust element is checking that the device is healthy and it hasn't got any major security risks. And now we can see the user can access applications straight away. So that's fine, that's a pretty decent steps for the user to follow, but I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, hey, I've got 100 or 1,000 or whatever, however many users. If I implement this overnight and suddenly I'm requiring them to open another application, sign in with IDP just to access applications, that's going to cause a headache for a lot of your users. Which is why we have really sort of focused and pushed network relay-based ZTNA. So this is leveraging the latest frameworks and technologies available from Apple, so device attestation, and network relay in particular. And if we look at the comparison now for the user experience, so the same thing's happened. The profile has been pushed to the user's device, so this is nothing they have to do. The profile's been pushed instantly. And now when they go to access corporate applications, they're in straight away. Nothing they have to do in order to access this. This is because device attestation means that we know that this device belongs to this user, so we've established that already. We know that this user has access to these applications. We're leveraging the network relay infrastructure to provide that secure tunneling into the application, so that's met the security requirements there. We're still checking the health of the device before access is granted. What you may have noticed is quite subtle, but with using network relay as well, you don't have the VPN icon appear for your users, which in some instances, we know users get a little bit funny if there's a VPN icon that appears on their device for whatever reason, even if you explain to them what it's doing and why it's there. Network relay removes this, so it's just a really simple user experience. They can access company applications without even realizing, but you've now deployed ZTNA to your mobile devices. You've got that secure access controls in place to meet compliance standards, but also actually deliver tangible, genuine security. So audits are mile one of a marathon, not the finish line. So I'm a bit of a runner, so I had to get a running analogy in there. So passing an audit is kind of the minimum effort. It's the starting point. But real-world security, you must build on top of the compliance that's set up there. So here's what you miss if you just go about ticking the box. Okay, so this is a list of several features that obviously Jamf can provide you with beyond sort of what you would do if you were just trying to meet compliance frameworks. And this is our answer, Jamf for mobile. You may have seen it from a commercial point of view. This is a SKU that we offer. This is the only solution on the market that combines MDM, MTD, and ZTNA in one platform as one offering. We are also one of the only solutions that is constantly leveraging the latest technologies and frameworks available from Apple, whether that's network relay or on-device content filtering. It's been purpose-built for mobile to run on mobile. We're not pushing a desktop-based solution to mobile and trying to catch up from that. We also have additional options that I haven't showcased today. So we have really detailed vulnerability assessments of mobile applications. You saw it in the commercial State of the Union presentation that we put a lot of investment into the AI tool around vetting of applications and the risk that may be existing there. We also have the spyware detection forensics with Jamf Executive Threat Protection. Now, I wanted to share this quote with you. Now, this quote really resonated with me, and actually it came about from a conversation I had with an Apple engineer based in the Nordics. And he was basically saying to me, hey, what we need to try and do is we need to make the most secure way the easiest way. And the best example of this in action, and I really think Apple and Jamf, we really do live by this. Now, before biometric security was introduced to iOS, around about 45% of iPhones had the passcode, but 55% didn't have a passcode. Because if you remember, if you wanted to unlock your phone before fingerprint and Face ID, you had to swipe up and put in a code, which is like a lot of users, I can't be bothered to do that. I'm just going to not enable a passcode. Obviously, you could try and enforce that they had this, but a lot of devices, over half devices, running with no passcode. Since they introduced fingerprint and now Face ID, it's around about 98% of devices have a passcode, which obviously is really important, not just for protecting your data, but all the encryption and the other stuff that's built into iOS. So what Apple have done, as far as the user is concerned, they're not thinking about security. They're just thinking, hey, I no longer have to put a PIN code in to access my apps. I can just access it straight away. That's great. They've made it really easy for me. What Apple have done is they've now made these devices infinitely more secure. These devices are all now, by default, have this passcode in place. So they've made the most secure way the easiest way without the user thinking about it. And the example I gave with network relay is what a good example of how Jamf does that. As I mentioned before, if you wanted to implement zero trust network access, it required the user, in most instances, on a mobile device to follow some kind of steps and to kind of implement that in practice. With this new network relay-based deployment method, Jamf allows you to do that without the user experience. So from a user's point of view, they're thinking, great, I can now access my applications on my mobile device. I don't have to do anything in order to do that. I've got immediate access. From a security point of view, you've got a secure tunnel that's ensuring that access is only done through devices which are meeting the security requirements that you've set. So we're allowing you to make the most secure way the easiest way. And that's what we're going to constantly try and do with our offering. And hopefully there might be some other examples you can give me of where you've seen that in practice or in reality as well. So that is some of the outcomes you would expect if you were to implement Jamf for mobile at scale. So you improve the user experience, but also you can start to then align to different compliance frameworks. You can gain those productivity and efficiency gains that we mentioned right at the start, amongst a whole host of other business outcomes you could expect. We also, as I mentioned, we have Jamf Executive Threat Protection. So this is an additional layer of security for those of you that maybe have users that are either operating in high-risk countries or they have sensitive IP on these devices. If you've ever had concerns about whether the device has been compromised by a very sophisticated attack, we have the ability to do that. And this is quite a nice comparison of whether you would need Jamf for mobile or Jamf Executive Threat Protection. The best analogy that I often provide for this is think of it like a house, your mobile device like a house. Jamf for mobile is like your lock on your front door, your gate around the house. These are techniques to prevent an attacker from coming in, okay? So everyone should have a lock on their front door as a security point of view. Executive threat protection is more like an alarm system, okay? So if someone gets into your house, you've got a sophisticated alarm system, cameras, maybe even laser beams if you want to go that far, in place to tell you, hey, there's someone in your house, this is how they got there, and this is what they did. Not everyone needs that sophisticated alarm system, but certain individuals, if they have really sensitive data on these devices, you might want to consider that and look at that. So that's kind of a nice analogy if you're ever wondering, hey, do I need both of these or just one, or what's the kind of, what's the deal here, Jamf? So this is what I want you to do from this session, okay? So tick the box and then break the box, okay? So auditors want evidence, attackers want access. We need to satisfy both, right? So what should we do? What are our next 3 moves beyond this? So if you are a Jamf for Mobile existing customer, maybe look at one requirement that you are just ticking off and see if you can kind of extend that beyond that. If not, maybe look at extending your deployment just from management into utilizing some of the security functionality that we have. And I've actually built a tool for you. So again, this is not a trick. This is an application, a web page that I've built explicitly for this session, which is a mobile compliance assessment tool. Okay, so I'll leave that on screen just to allow you to do that, but don't worry, I'm gonna show you what this looks like in a second. We'll go back to it if anyone missed it. So this is a tool I've built. What it allows you to do is when you log in, you can then, when you access the domain, you can then select a compliance framework that you are interested in. So if you're in the US, EU, or UK, it is limited to those, but I can maybe look at it, adding other compliance frameworks into that. What it then does is it then calls out what are the 10 mobile requirements for NIST, for NIST 2 for Cyber Essentials Plus, and then what Jamf can offer, how Jamf satisfies those. So again, if you want to report back to the business, or if you wanted to kind of tick this off for yourselves, this is the kind of starting point. This is what we need to do to meet NIST 2 or NIST or Cyber Essentials Plus. This is how Jamf for Mobile offers that. We are also, if anyone is interested, definitely would love to speak to you after this session. We are exploring offering some kind of services around this. So if you would be interested in sort of working with Jamf to actually configure your mobile estate to meet these compliance frameworks, we then can potentially offer some kind of services where we can show you how you would do all of that step by step and guide you through not just setting up from day one, but then evaluating that throughout your whole time as a Jamf customer. So yeah, hopefully you find this type of this tool useful. It's free to access, so we will go back to that QR code if you've missed it when it was on screen in a second. So that is me. I think we're running to time, which is always great. So yeah, thank you for your time today. If you do want to connect, that is again another QR code. Apologies, but that is my LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn. As well as obviously in person after this session. But yeah, to recap, there is a difference between compliance and real security, okay? So it's great that these frameworks now take mobile seriously, that mobile is in scope, but we don't want to just tick that box. We want to go beyond that. And Jamf for Mobile makes it super easy for you to do that from an admin and a user experience point of view. So yeah, appreciate everyone's time and attention. We do have some time for Q&A. I don't think our session host is here. So, but anyone in a green T-shirt want to volunteer to just walk around with the mic? Maybe Ian or Dennis. If there are any questions, raise your hand. But yeah, if not, thank you for your time, everyone. Question at the front.
Question in the front.
Thank you, Dennis.
Of course.
Hello. Do you know if there's any plans to implement a similar compliance tool for mobility like they have for macOS today?
Yeah, so that is part of the plan, the roadmap. I will try, I can't give you definitive dates, but we can chat afterwards. But yeah, it's definitely part of the roadmap.
Okay. Yeah, that was it. Just seems like such an easy,
exactly.
easy solve.
Anyone else?
No? Okay, we'll call it there. But yeah, thank you everyone for your time and attention. And yeah, I'll be hanging around if you want to ask a question one-on-one. Thank you.